Swayambhuvaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmahi Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutare Swayam Rupa Karamyam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishikan Vitam Stam Nama Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Padanta Swami Tanamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Pacharini Nirvishesa Sunyavadi Paskata Desaradini Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Jeva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayodaya Nashta Priyashu Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavati Uttamashoki Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Igamalka Paduragaditam Param Shukamakaramrita Dapi Samitam Pivata Bhagatam Rashama Mahora Hora Shikabhavakam Krishna Sadhu Bhavagate Dharmikini Karonastadu Shamasha Parana Kodunotitaham Kamapi Adabhishuti Vishutam Vivu Samapiyanera Viduptaram Prakyahinohar Aditatmanam Sanklesha Nirvanama Santi Nanyatam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaur Bhaktavrindam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Welcome to Motivational Monday. How are you this morning, Rob?
I'm well, Prabhuji. Thank you. Yes, I am well. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm good. All right. I think this is the third or fourth time, possibly, we're revisiting this verse here, which is the 19th verse in the fifth chapter of the fifth chapter of the first canto of the Bhagavatam. Na jan vai janu jatu kanchana vijam makunda sevya anyavad angasam sriram shmaran makundangriya pagana puna vihatami chena rasha graho janaha. My dear Vyas, even though a devotee of Lord Krishna sometimes falls down some or other, he certainly does not undergo material existence like others, fruitive workers, etc. Because a person who has once relished the taste of the lotus feet of the Lord can do nothing but remember that ecstasy again and again and again and again. Our theme today is that Krishna is the cause of all causes. He's that cause knowing which everything becomes known and nothing remains unknown. Simply by understanding how it is that Krishna appears throughout the material and spiritual worlds, the various transformations of his different energies is not complete knowledge. If you know a man's shadow, that doesn't necessarily tell you a lot about the man, his personality, his preferences. You have to know the man himself, and knowing the man himself, then knowledge of the shadow such as it is included within that knowledge. And similarly, studying, as materialistic scientists do, the various workings of God's energies in this material world is partial knowledge at best, incomplete knowledge at best. One should understand the origin, the cause from which everything else is caused, and understanding the first cause, then one basically understands or has access to understanding everything about the emanations from that first principle, or that first cause, or that singularity. Everything that we see, smell, touch, taste, hear is produced by the energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You have a good example. There are so many aromas, different flowers, gardenias, jasmine. I went to University of Virginia. They had these famous serpentine walls, which were designed by Thomas Jefferson. But what I found interesting was not just the shape and form of the walls themselves, but the fact that wherever you had these walls on campus, there were vines of jasmine cascading over them. So those walls, for me, whenever I recall those walls, I recall the smell of jasmine wherever I would go. So jasmine, musk, gardenia, champak, magnolia, roses, carnations, lots and lots of varieties of fragrances, lots of varieties of aromas. But from where do they all spring? What is the cause of all those varieties? The original cause is the earth. The earth itself smells kind of musty. No one would call the earth aromatic or particularly fragrant. And yet the earth is the cause. From the earth itself, all these different flowers spring. And then from those flowers, there are different aromas. Another example is given here of the water pot. The water pot is used to carry all kinds of different water. And water pots may take different shapes. There may be tiny little pots which carry only 8 ounces. There may be big water pots which ladies put on their heads, which carry 10 to 15 pounds of water. But all those pots, no matter how much the pots themselves weigh, with or without water, the shape of the pots, they're all just clay, and clay is itself earth. So however many different sizes and shapes of pots you may have, the original cause or the primary ingredient is earth itself. Similarly, there are innumerable varieties, shapes, and forms in this world in which we live, but we should know it for a fact. They are nothing but different permutations and combinations of the energy of the Supreme Personality of God. When we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, that is considered a complete mode of address to the Lord. The Lord doesn't exist as the Supreme, all-powerful personality in a closet somewhere. He doesn't exist in a vacuum. Wherever we see something powerful, there are always byproducts. If you see a powerful man, a head of state, or a big business billionaire, they're always accompanied by an entourage, security people, secretaries, assistants. The media will often be there as well. There'll be other influential people who will orbit around them. We don't see the President of the United States, for instance, walking down Pennsylvania Avenue with quarters in his pocket and his laundry slung over his shoulder on the way to the laundromat. He has people to do that for him. He has responsibilities of a higher nature to exercise. And so the mundane, trivial things are taken care of by others. The sun is also another example. What more powerful entity do we know in this universe than the sun? And yet the sun is not living in a vacuum. Sun is producing sunshine. You can't think of the sun without simultaneously thinking of sunshine, nor can you think of the sunshine without simultaneously thinking of the sun. So similarly, we can't address God, we can't think of God in a vacuum. God is all powerful. God is Aishwarya Samagrasha, Vir Yasha, Yashasha, Jnana Vairagya, Shanam Bhagam, Yutingana. It's full of the source of all wealth, all fame, all knowledge, all beauty, all humility, and all renunciation. So you can't just think about God as a separate, isolated living being. He is the energetic source from which all energies, earth energy, air energy, fire energy, water energy, mind energy, ego energy, intelligence energy comes. He is the resting place, the abode, and the source from which all of that emanates. So the complete way of thinking of God is not just as God in isolation, or not just as energies who have some or other sprung up from some imaginary source like a black hole or from a big bang. But we think of the complete mode of addressing and thinking of the Lord is as the source and as the energetic energies. So the energetic and the energies. So Hare Krishna basically translates to mean, "Oh my Lord, oh energies of the Lord, please engage me in your service." This is confirmed in the 6th verse of the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna tells Arjuna, "Etad yonini bhutani sarvaniti upadaryam aham krishnatsya jagata prabhava pralayas chata." Etad yonini. Yonini means womb. Krishna says, I am the womb, I am the source from which everything, bhutani, all living beings come. Sarvaniti upadariam. No one has any other source other than me. Aham krishnasya jagataham. The entire universe streams from me as a child exits the womb of the mother. Prabhava pralayasata. And at the end, when this material world is finished with its current manifestation, Prabhava pralayasata, everything is reabsorbed back into me. So know it for certain, Arjuna, that I am both the origin and I am the dissolution. He's the creator, he's also the destroyer. Now, in between, he's the maintainer. And we often see that who lives in a house, created the house, built the house, and has the option of destroying the house, demolishing the house in due course of time. The maintainer, the person who lives in the house, in most cases, if they own rather than rent, they are also the power behind the house having been built. They paid the contractor to build the house. And if they want to raise it and put something up bigger, something different on that land which they own, they also have the right to hire a demolition guy to take it back down to the ground. So it is the maintainer who is the power behind the creator and the destroyer. So we know about Brahma, the creator, Shiva, the destroyer, and Vishnu, the maintainer. But it is, in fact, Vishnu who is the source both of Brahma and of Lord Shiva. Vishnu is the soul of the universe, just as when a man and a woman have intercourse, on the third day, Prabhupada explains, those secretions come together in a sort of emulsification and make a little pea-like form. That's the embryo. So tiny you can barely see it. But because the soul enters into that embryo, it continues to grow, build mass. Shrotam chakru sparsanam cha rasanam adishtayamanashyam vishyam sevate. Based on the consciousness from the previous life, certain nose, certain eyes, certain ears, certain sense of touch, everything evolves around the consciousness, the mentality that is residual from a previous lifetime. And without the presence of the soul in the womb, the body will not grow during a period of 9 months gestation, what to speak of taking birth. So were it not for the entrance of the cause of all causes, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, into this universe in the beginning of its manifestation, it would not grow. It would not have been created. It would not be able to maintain itself. And it would not be destroyed in due course of time. But what we conclude from all of this is that the source of everything is spirit and not matter. The mundane science would have us believe that everything comes from matter, that everything's just some or other matter randomly coming together, chemicals, atoms, and molecules combining randomly to produce the incredible order and harmony that we see before us. But Prabhupada contradicts the hypothesis of the material scientist. He says that everything that exists, we see it as a byproduct of matter and spirit, but spirit is the basic field of creation. Matter is created by spirit. Spirit is not created at a certain stage of material development. Rather, just the opposite. The material world is manifested only on the basis of spiritual energy. Parashmas tad tu bhavonya vyakta vyakta sanatana. This material world is coming and going, but the spiritual world is always manifest. Bhutva bhutva praliyate ratamagame vishaparta. Take this example. We have within us anger. That's within us. It mostly stays within us, but every once in a while it manifests itself. It comes out. So you might say anger is sometimes manifest and sometimes unmanifest. It's coming and going, in and out, in and out. Similarly, this material world is dependent upon, resting upon the spiritual world itself. Without the presence of spirit, there would be no manifestation of matter. That is simply not possible. Again, just like that embryo within the womb, it could not grow and develop in the way that it grows and develops during the period of pregnancy. It would not take birth. It would not see the light of day. were the spirit not present within matter, uh, having seen the light of day, that body develops from boyhood then to manhood for one reason and one reason only, because the spirit soul, the spiritual energy, is present within that body. And as long as that spiritual energy is present within the body, the parents dote on the child. As it matures, that child or that man becomes attracted to a spouse, and the spouse becomes attracted to them. As a result of their union, children come, and the children love to jump on the lap of their daddy and wrestle with him. All these attractive features do not come from this body, which is simply it's earth, air, fire, and water. This body itself is not attractive. It's only due to the presence of the soul within this body that the body is attractive. It's not the body which is attractive, but it's the soul within the body that's attractive. And as long as the soul resides within the body, we have also all kinds of intimate, reciprocal, satisfying relationships. But as soon as the soul leaves the body, nobody cares for it anymore. It starts to rot, it starts to decompose, it starts to smell bad. We can't get rid of the body fast enough. We burn it, we bury it. Some religious groups just throw it out for the scavengers. We want to spend time with a body in which there is inhabiting a spirit soul. That makes the body attractive. It gives it life and vitality. It gives it brilliance and intelligence. Gives it grace and poise. Gives it intellectual prowess. However, once that soul has exited the body, none of that exists in the body. And the body is not only no longer attractive, but it is positively repugnant. So in the same way that our bodies grow, exercise energies and powers, and attract others to it because of the presence of the soul, similarly the soul of the universe is Garbhodakshay Vishnu, the maintainer, the supreme personality of Godhead. Another example that's given on this point is that from the earth itself there are many, many byproducts. It says, Yajmin vigate sa gurumeva vigatam bhavanta. From earth comes all the different varieties in this material world, all the different 8,400,000 species of life. They're all fashioned basically from earth. So the earth, in fact, is the cause of all causes. Whatever you may see, however you may differentiate with things, you may know that at the end of the day, everything that's visible with these material eyes is basically comprised of earth. And similarly, there is nothing in the material and spiritual realm which does not have its origin in God. He is the seed from which everything comes. It says when Lord Brahma, the creator of the universe, appeared on the seat of his lotus flower, he looked around and everything around him was darkness. He could not perceive his origin. And the explanation is given there that when a seed fructifies and grows, the original seed cannot be discerned, isn't it? You cannot see the original seed. Now, banyan tree came from an original seed, but once the banyan trees manifest and mature, you can no longer see the original seed. So Lord Brahma saw himself, he saw the lotus flower, he saw darkness all around, he saw all the potentiality which lay before him, but he could not, with his material limited senses, discern the source from which he himself came. We have to learn about that source, not by experience, not through our senses, not through empiricism, but by hearing from authorities. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the Song of God, 10th verse, 7th chapter, to Arjuna, Bija Mam. Bija means seed. Mam. Krishna says, Mam, first person, personal. I, Bija Mam, am the seed, Sarvabhutanam, of everything. Not just a few things, not just some things, but Sarva means all, Bhutanam, all living. Vidhi Partha Sanatana. Vidhi, this is knowledge. To understand the energies of the Lord is incomplete, fragmental, misleading knowledge. Krishna says, Vidhi Partha Sanatana, to know the eternal personality of Godhead, who is the seed from which all our living beings come. That is actually knowledge. Buddhi buddhi matam ashmi. Someone who knows the cause of all causes is intelligent amongst intelligent men. There may be so many intelligent men, PhDs, Nobel Prize winners, graduates of MIT, but one who knows the cause of all causes, one who knows that everything is resting on Krishna, is intelligent, buddhi buddhamatim, among intelligent men. Tejas tejvashinam. We may ooh and ah at all the dexterity and the mental prowess of the scientists, but where did they get their brain from? They did not create it in the laboratory. The brain that they're using, that is given to them by God. So if you know God, everything becomes known and nothing is unknown. Krishna says to Arjuna, know that I am the original seed of all existence, the intelligence of the intelligence, and I am the prowess of all powerful men. Yata turur mula nisayachana. Mula means root. Is it not a fact that the root of the tree maintains the whole tree? You can do without any individual branch. You can do without any particular flower. You can do without any particular twig or any particular fruit. But once the root is gone, then the whole tree is destroyed. We have a lot of unwanted weeds on our property. The most unwanted is this weed. I don't know what the weed is called itself, but it produces these rock hard little prickly things called goat heads. They're so you can't break them. You can't. They're almost as durable as the soul. When I think of these goat heads, I think of the verse Nanam Chindanti Sastani. You cannot cut it with any sword. You can burn them. That is actually the best way to get rid of them. So I have a torch with a canister of propane, and I go around, burn them. And that not only takes care of the plant, but it takes care of the seeds as well. But you cannot just pass over them with the flame. You have to make sure that you not only burn the leaves and the branches and the goat heads themselves, but you have to go right to the root from which all those branches are spreading out and put your flame on that root for a good 30 seconds. Because if you burn the leaves and the twigs and the goat heads, you come back a couple weeks later and the plant is right back there again. It has totally regrown because you did not get the root. Or if you're uprooting them with a hoe, it doesn't do just to cut off from the surface, equal with the surface, to cut off the branches. And you have to dig down, make sure you go down 1 or 2 inches and uproot that plant if you want to make sure that it doesn't grow back again. So we all know from practical experience that the root of the plant, the root of the tree, maintains the whole tree. It is the root which is the most important part of the tree. Any other part can be substituted, any other part can be cut off, but the root is the source from which the tree comes. And similarly, the root of everything is Vishnu or Krishna. In the Katha Upanishad, it says, Nitya, Nityanam, Chaitanas, Chaitanam. We are all multiple, plural living entities. You, me, the birds, the beasts, the ants, the llamas, the peacocks, the parrots, the rabbits, the chickens, the demigods. We're all plural living beings, obviously. However, there is a singular living being who differs from us, not in quality. We're eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. And the singular living being who is our root, we derive our eternality, bliss, and knowledge from our root. Just like the root of sunshine is the sun globe. Now, sun globe emanates light and heat. So each and every particle of sunshine also has the qualities of light and heat. So we differ from our cause, not in quality, but obviously in quantity. Sun globe is much more powerful than any individual particle of sunshine. Similarly, amongst all the living beings, that one singular eternal living being who maintains, exudes, produces all of us plural living beings, including the demigods like Ganesh, like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, from whom even Lord Vishnu himself comes. That eternal living being differs from us in terms of power. He is unlimitedly powerful, and we are limited. Chaitanya Chaitanya. Again, qualitatively, we, the plural living beings, the byproducts, we have consciousness. We are cognizant to some degree. Obviously, I'm consciously putting words together to try to communicate ideas and concepts to you. You're taking it in, processing it, collating it, coming up with conclusions. These are all symptoms of consciousness, which is not there in the book, which is not there in the table, which is not there in the floor. But we're all conscious living beings. But from where we derive our consciousness, we don't derive it from matter, we derive it from the Supreme Spirit. So we are conscious, God is conscious, we have that in common, but He is conscious of all living beings, all the 8,400,000 species of life, and all their individual features. Their Krishna, God, is seated in each and every living being's heart. He knows exactly what's going on. We know only the pains and pleasures of this body, if that. We even know that limitedly. God knows all the pains and pleasures of this body. He knows everything that's going on with every other body. The 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Chetragnam chapi mamadi sarva chetashu chetra chedina yatas gyanamatama. Says, beside the individual cognizant living being who resides within the body, there is Chetragnam Chapi, there is another conscious living being who cohabits the body, who is Upadrashtanamartacha Bhartabhak Paramatvi Chapi Dehishmin Parushama. Within this body, there's not one soul, but there are two souls. And one soul, the jiva, is limitedly cognizant. The other soul, the supreme soul, is unlimitedly cognizant. So that Lord in the heart who accompanies us knows not only us, but He also resides within the hearts of all living beings, and He's fully cognizant of everything that goes on within this creation. And not only is He cognizant, not only does He know everything about every living being, number of hairs you have in your head, but He also supports all of us. We all get up in the morning, we all want something to eat, and that arrangement is made by the Supreme Personality of Godhead who lives within our hearts. And when we integrate, when we get this knowledge about the cause of all causes, the energetic source of everything, when we get that down in our spirit by repeatedly hearing and chanting from a bona fide spiritual master, Prabhupada used to talk about these things as comfortably as you and I would talk about going to the local Walmart. We've been there 100 times, we've been there 1,000 times. We could practically close our eyes and go to the aisle and pick stuff off the counters. It's a quotidian, it's a daily affair almost, or whatever store that you shop in frequently. Prabhupada would talk about the spiritual world, about the soul, about the Supreme Soul, so comfortably and so confidently that engendered confidence within ourselves. So the more that you hear, the more you hear from authorized sources, the more that which is invisible becomes visible to you. The more that which lies beyond the range of your material senses comes within the range of your senses through your devotional attitude. Krishna approaches us being attracted by the hook of our purified, devotionally saturated consciousness. And the result of someone who knows the cause of all causes is that he or she quickly becomes uninterested in the phantasmagoria of material existence. Such a person who's once tasted the honey of the lotus feet of the Lord is called rasa graha. Having tasted the sweetness of the lotus feet of the Lord, one becomes disinterested in what this material existence has to offer. It says, Matirna Krishna Parato Shatoba Mito Vibhadir Adanta Gopu Vishadam Punapanas Chavidachavanana. We're all pleasure-seeking living beings. We want to maximize pleasure and minimize pain. So for that, and unfortunately, we strive for sense gratification. However, the more that we strive for sense gratification, the more we find that we get the opposite effect that we're striving for. We're striving to increase pleasure and minimize pain. But when we act for sense gratification, what we achieve is that we increase pain and decrease pleasure. We think we're very clever with our talking heads and our scientists and our PhDs. And yet all the so-called advancements, all the so-called solutions to the miseries of material life, sooner or later they end up creating more suffering than they solve. Mark my words, the day will come when we curse material science and all of its so-called advancements. As I've mentioned several times before, we have 14 acres of land here in Spanish Fork, Utah. We have about an acre of it in gardens, and we get many volunteers from all over the world. They sign up, they apply in order to come here. We supply them room and board, and they work 4 hours a day, 6 days a week. Many of them are educated. They've got their bachelor's degrees, they've got their graduate degrees. And after all that years of sitting in a sterile classroom and hearing from non-realized academics, all they want to do is get down on their knees in dirt and pull up some weeds or water some plants or grow something or make some contribution to the organic world that the Lord has supplied. You have to reach burnout at some point. You have to reach blowout at some point. Better to substitute, better to give up the attraction of this material world, having found a higher taste in the devotional service of the Lord, than just to become nihilist and jaded and cynic. Visha vinavartate narahasha vardhanam rashahambusha param drishtva nivartate. The best way to give up infatuation with so-called sense gratification, material advancement, is to get the higher taste which is available from the lotus feet of the Lord. And even if someone, having intersected the Lord's name, fame, form, activities, pastimes, paraphernalia, devotees, prasadam, festivals, kirtan, japa, and goes away, still they can never forget the taste they got in the association of devotees. And they are not to be compared with those who never intersected devotional service. Tatra tam buddhi samyako labhate yatatocha samsido kurana. You're on your way. Whether you like it or not, you're on your way. One way or another, Krishna will drag you back to home, back to Godhead. You're no longer an orphan. You're no longer lost. You're adopted by the Lord. He will watch over you. He will protect you, and He will arrange those circumstances and those situations which will again bring you into contact with devotees and Krishna consciousness, so you can resume your march back to home, back to Godhead. For those who set as their goal, Nattevidu Shraitagarimme Vishnu, who have as their goal the lotus feet of Krishna, which are like the shining sun, which is like the shining sun in the sky, they lose all of their interest in material things. Prime example right there in the first canto of the Bhagavatam is Maharaj Parikshit, young heir to the greatest dynasty in the world, grandson to Arjuna and Yudhisthira, the Pandavas, the Kauravas who ruled the world for thousands and thousands of years, blue-blooded, aristocratic, everything was available from youth, silver spoon in his mouth, totally Krishna conscious. He had seen Krishna within the womb of his mother. That's why he had been named Parikshit, because he got a taste for seeing the Lord appeared briefly within the womb of his mother to save him from the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama. He just got a glimpse of the Lord, and then the Lord disappeared. But he never was the same again. He always wanted to see once again that personality who he'd seen protecting him as a helpless embryo within the womb of his mother. So he became the king. He ruled. He actually was so powerful, he forestalled Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga was supposed to come in right after the departure of Lord Krishna, but Parikshit kept Kali Yuga out, banished Kali Yuga to houses, brothels, bars, places where there's gold and all. And there were no such places anywhere in the face of the earth. Kali had nowhere to come. So unless Parikshit was killed, removed, Kali Yuga would not be able to come. It was Kali's time, but here standing in the way was this powerful heir to the Pandavas, Maharaj Parikshit. So finally, Kali entered into a conspiracy with Takshaka, the snake, and one Muni as well, to arrange that Maharaj Parikshit get the bite of a snake bird in 7 days' time. So when he got notice that within 7 days' time he would be bitten by a snake bird and perish, he didn't mope, he didn't have a pity party, he didn't moan and groan. He didn't feel the slightest regret or chagrin at the prospect of being separated from his youth, from his wife, from his children, from his kingdom, from his sovereignty. This, in fact, is what he had been waiting for, praying for, and anticipating all of his life. This was the denouement, the culmination from that. It was inevitable from the moment that he saw Krishna within the womb of his mother, from the moment he was bitten by the snake of Krishna. Krishna is sometimes called a black snake. And once he bites you, you're never the same again. You can never forget him, no matter what you do. You try, but you cannot forget him. So having been bitten in the womb by the black snake of Krishna, all Parikshit wanted was just to do his duty, to bide his time. But what he was really waiting for was that time when he would again see the Lord of his heart. That happened in the person of Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami appeared before him, started reciting the glories of the Lord and the glories of the Lord's devotees in the form of the Srimad Bhagavatam. During that period of time, Maharaj Parikshit revealed his inner heart, the real person, with these words. He said to the sages and to Maharaj Parikshit, Tam upayatam pratyanta vipra ganga chadev nudira. Vijapashaka puhis takshagava dasato alam gayatubishan. Takshata was the name of the snake that would be smuggled in a basket of fruit and then come up and bite Maharaj Parikshit. So his Dvijapashaka tukas takshagava. Says whatever this Brahmin boy Shringi has conjured up by his curse, Takshaka or whatever it's called, I don't care. Let him come and bite me at once. What to speak of after 7 days or 6 days? He says, I'm perfect now. I'm perfect. I've got Sukadeva Goswami here. I've got the nectar, Srinvatam Shrakata Krishna, the nectar of Krishna flowing into my ears. I've got the association of the sages. The Ganges, Yamuna River is flowing nearby. I have no attachments anymore. I'm sitting with just a loincloth. I haven't eaten and drinking. I basically, in my mind, in my consciousness, already quitted this earth in favor of the spiritual world. So he said, my desires are only this. Just let that snake bird or whatever magical thing that the Brahmin boy has created bite me at once. I only have one. I don't have a desire to avoid death, to avoid being bitten. I only have a desire that you continue singing the glories of Lord Vishnu. Ayaharati vaipumsham udyamashtam tasharatya udamashoka. For one who is hearing the pastimes of the Lord described in transcendental glorified verses, the rising and setting of the sun do not curtail the duration of such a person's life. Otherwise, materialistic people are going about their business of sense gratification. Every day of their life, they're robbed of that valuable time. But one who is engaged in hearing the glories of the Lord has stepped into eternal time, is tasting that nectar which is imperishable and ever increasingly blissful. So Maharaj Parikshit said, I have nothing to gain, asochatina kanchati. I have nothing to lose. I'm perfectly situated by the banks of the sacred river, hearing from my spiritual master, and in the association of sadhu. Sadhu sangha sada sangha sastra sastahai, lava matu sadhu sangha sarva shirahai. Everything's perfect. Everything is transcendentally aligned. So whenever the snake bird decides to come and bite me, it's okay. I don't mind. But don't stop. Sukadeva, don't stop talking about Krishna's devotees. sages don't desert us and go somewhere else. Let us just continue as we are, because we have entered into eternity. And then the next verse, 16th verse, 19th chapter, the first canto of the Bhagavatam, Maharaj Pariksit, the disinterested, pure, detached, ideal devotee of the Lord, he says, Punascha bhuyat bhagavatina anteya rati prashangashta tadashayashu mahatsu yam yam upyamashisam maitri ashta sarvatra namo dudebhya. He says, I offer my obeisances to all the Brahmins. I pray that even if I should not get liberation, even if I should again and again, and understand his humility, he's not assuming that he's got liberation. He's not engaging in the process of hearing and chanting in order to get liberation. He doesn't want anything from the Lord except the boon of service, the association of the great souls. So he says that if by the will of the Lord, I should again take my birth in this material world, three things. I want attachment to Lord Vishnu, association with his devotees, and friendly relationship with all living beings. These are the pared down, streamlined, purified desires of a pure devotee. So let us go about our day today, Motivational Monday, with these words in mind and this shining example of Maharaj Pariksit up before us, before our eyes, and aspire for nothing other than the same three things that Maharaj Pariksit aspired for: unlimited attachment to Lord Vishnu, association with devotees, and friendly relations with all living beings. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nate, good morning, Nate. Thanks for joining us. Vaibhavi asks the question here, what is the story of the Muni? What is the story of the Muni? Not sure what that means. What is the story of the Muni? Ali and William, shout out to them for Los Angeles. Please accept my obeisances. Bhakti Gary, glories to Prabhupada. Again, William and Ali, I think their eldest daughter had her birthday yesterday. Congratulations to her. Divya, Haribol Divya. Govinda, I hope you're feeling more clear, focused this morning. Your vertigo is starting to recede. Thank you very much for joining us. William comes on several times. A prolific commenter, that's what we like. We like to get those number of comments up there. Raleigh, Hare Krishna Raleigh. Brent was here yesterday, Sunday feast. We had a drop-in of exalted visitors. We had Ravi Gupta, Radhika Roman, his family, and his two boys, along with Raj Vilas, his wife, drop in with us. And Radhika Roman had a friend who's the president of the Hare Krishna Temple in Richmond, Virginia, and his wife visiting. Radhika Roman used to teach at William and Mary University in Williamsburg, and then the main center near there was in Richmond. And so in past years, he got to know this family. His name was Divya Nam, I think. Divya Nam. And they had two boys the same age as Radhika Raman's boys. So just at the end of the program, we were about to go down to the feast. Coming up the stairs was one young boy with a Sika in the back, then another young boy with a Sika, and another young boy with a Sika, and then there were four young boys, all with Sikas, and they all came, sat down, started singing and playing the drums. And I thought, the four Kumaras have visited us in Spanish Fork, Utah. So it was ecstatic. It was an ecstatic time. But Brent had often talked to me about Radhika Raman, but had never met him. So once I told him that Radhika Raman was visiting us, he went over and hopefully introduced himself and got to know him face to face. Certainly an exalted personality. Grew up in the Boise Temple, was homeschooled by his mother in the Srimad Bhagavatam, learned to read and write from the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and has just gone on from glory to glory to glory to glory. Bye, Bobby. Thanks for joining us. Rakesh Ji, Hare Krishna. Ram Kishore, thank you very much. We had a nice visit from Jorge. He's been attending the Salt Lake City Temple, came down to Spanish Fort for the first time. I posted some of his pictures on our Facebook page as well. 12 people listening also. Let's see if I can get the access to that. No, I can't get, I'm clicking here. I'm not sure how to get those. In any case, hopefully we've given you food for thought. I know that I have given myself food for thought today as we go about our weekly activities. We're very excited because now we have a new veranda, a new concrete covering on our outside veranda. It's 4,500 square feet of veranda on the ground floor. And it was, after 20 years, the concrete had a lot of cracks in it. So we hired a company to come and seal all the cracks, to put epoxy over the veranda, to put flake, a surface on it, then to cover it and seal it. And it is looking really, really great. Everybody who came to the Sunday feast yesterday, I couldn't help but ask them to look down, and I'm showing off our veranda. So if you're a visitor to the temple, please, this is an excuse for you to come in the near future. And when you come, look down. Before you look up to Krishna on the second floor, look down at the new veranda, which decorates the Sri Sri Radha Krishna New Kusham Sarovar Temple here in Spanish Fort, Utah. That's it for Motivational Monday. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow for more on this same topic, the cause of all causes, the devotees following the example of Maharaj Priya get disinterested in material sense gratification. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,